Dre, Maggie, Mike Edmonds, Rachel,
Rachel. Any commissioners online?
Maggie.
Maggie.
Maggie's coming in, Jim.
Yes, coming online.
Yes, she got promoted.
It was way pre-COVID.
Well, Allison's pretty much, and she'll definitely mention.
All right, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order.
You know, in terms of action stuff.
Welcome, everybody. Let's see here. The Commission on Equitable Housing and Development meeting is now commenced. It's September 5th at 4 p.m. This is a both virtual and in-person meeting. Those of you online, we ask that you mute yourselves until called upon to speak to avoid feedback and background noise. Those who have dialed using the call-in number to unmute, speak *6 on your phone. You only use the chat function to request to speak. Also, to comply with the state open meeting laws, attendance and votes will be done by way of roll call. All right, so let's see, Maggie Amato-Tejas online.
Present.
Wendy After
She's coming online, Jim.
coming online. Marianne Bierling. Andy Bernstein. Mark Clark. Clark's absent. Vicky Casino. Online.
Here, I am having a difficult time hearing. Can others online hear?
So it's a reminder to speak up, commissioners, loudly and clearly, please.
Yeah, so I could hear that, but I can't hear Jim hardly at all, and I'm trying to read captions.
Do we need to move up closer? Does
You
that
just
help?
have to speak louder.
Okay. Serena. Barack. Serena's not here. Lori Mazurbo. Tisha Tallman.
Here.
Jim Toffel, I'm here. Ray Winch.
Here.
Kenny Wong.
Here.
Jay Young. Here. All right, our ex officio members, Ann Shenenka.
Here.
Warren Manning.
Here.
Betty Villegas. Marcos Ismail. And Mike Edmonds.
Present.
All right. All right, so our next agenda item is to approve the August meeting minutes. You guys, does everybody have a copy of the August meeting minutes?
Lori Minerva just is covered.
Does everybody have a copy of the meeting minutes? Are there any changes to the August meeting minutes?
I move we accept.
Okay, without objection, and the minutes are approved.
Okay.
And Beatrix. Okay. All right, next agenda item is a call to the audience. Call to the audience is limited to 3 minutes per speaker until 10 minutes. All speakers must share their name to be recorded in the meeting minutes. Remember that call to audience may not result in direct discussion with members of CEHD. No legal action may take place during the call to the audience, and speakers may not be disruptive. CEHD members may only respond to criticism or request that items be placed on future agenda for discussion. Members of the audience may still participate on the agenda items as per the bylaws of CEHD. Is there anybody who'd like to speak?
I would.
Okay.
I spoke to the mayor recently, and she has not heard anything about the potential work between the city and the county regarding the regional housing bond effort. And So I think we should probably put it on our next agenda and somebody, maybe Jen or, Jay, does a little report to her about where everything's at.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else like to speak? Anybody online?
No one's raised their hand.
Okay, our next agenda item is a presentation by Dre Thompson with the Tucson IDA. So Dre, you're okay?
Yes, hello, hi. And it's gonna be also my colleague Nicole Johnson. If I can just have my screen enabled so I can show my presentation.
Hey Dre, you should be able to share your screen now. Sorry about that.
Thank you, Lena. She's trying to moderate the levels. Oh, thanks.
I'm not seeing the option to share my screen.
Right now, Dre.
Let me double check. It's still not showing you as a co-host. Or you should be able to now. Sorry about that.
So Vicky is wondering if anyone's saying anything. Not yet. If
Have I been on mute just talking to myself over here? Yes.
Yeah.
You guys, I had the best introduction. It was great. No. Okay. All right.
we see your screen.
Okay, good. All right. Well, I am Dre Thompson. I'm the CEO of the Industrial Development Authority. And I also have Nicole Johnson. We're here to talk a little bit about Lighthouse, which is our single-family mortgage revenue bond program, which we have been running in collaboration with Pima County and also with the city of Tucson for the last year and a half. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the impact of this program. What is the purpose of this program? How does it work? How does it not work? And then also how we can, really ensure that this program is more available on a wider level. So, Nicole, do you want to sort of talk a little bit, just high level about the impact of the program?
Absolutely. So our first Lighthouse was launched a year ago, last August, so August 2023. And since then, we have helped over 465 families become homeowners. This program is designed for first-time home buyers. And so the impact to our economy has been very massive. We're in the process of wrapping up the 5th iteration of Lighthouse. That'll increase us to over 500 families served.
Yeah, and part of that, we've had over 5 million of down payment assistance, which has been deployed to these same families. And we're very excited. This has won a national housing award as well. So a little bit about this program. We call it Lighthouse because the official name is a little bit of a mouthful, which is the Single Family Mortgage Revenue Bond Program. And this is created by the federal government to support people that typically don't have more challenges entering the housing market as first-time home buyers. And so traditionally, the central target really has been that first-time home buyers, but it also includes veterans, folks that are purchasing homes in economically distressed zip codes, which they define, and low-income families, and also folks that are buying manufactured homes. So the federal government has defined these as people that they would really like to target as entering the home market. And so that's what this program was designed to do. So it leverages federal tax incentives to activate the private markets to be able to lower the mortgage rate and also add down payment assistance in order to help really incentivize these groups and support them entering the market. So this is part of a suite of programs that involves the Arizona Finance Authority and your local conduits, your friendly IDAs. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So you have the Arizona volume cap. So this is a federal limit each year that's based on population size. So Arizona this year had about 900 million. We're currently out of volume cap. We've used all our volume cap for this year. And about 30% of the volume cap, which were given by the federal government, is for single family home programs. So that's for really home ownership. So mortgage credit certificate programs and single family mortgage revenue bonds, which is this program. And then 40% is designated low-income housing tax credits. So in years that we don't use MCCs or SFMRBs, which those are called, more of that will go to low-income housing tax credits. So this can be a little bit flexible in our environment, oh, now you can see me. Okay, so these can be a little bit flexible, but that's how they're initially designated. So the IDAs were initially created and empowered to implement these federal programs at the state level. So while we have some say over how these are set up, we don't have a lot of say as these are part of this sort of federal suite of programs that were created. Okay. And so getting a little bit into the weeds here, what are single family mortgage bond revenue bonds? They are mortgage-backed securities, that mortgage revenue bonds that are issued to really obtain that low interest mortgage rate. So the entity issuing the loan outsources the mortgage funding to bondholders who are then paid the coupon based on the mortgage interest rate, and the municipality, the IDA, issue these through the Housing Finance Authority, which is us, the IDA. So through this financial instrument, we're able to offer a lower interest rate and 4% down payment assistance. So just this little chart here that I have here, it's important to kind of note that the mortgage loan is being really operated between the bank and the buyer. So we're not in that relationship with them. And then all of the mortgages are pooled into this pool over here on the side. And so we as the IDA, we do keep a close eye on these pools and the default rates that are in these, because if you'll remember in 2008, if you see a lot of high risk that are pooled into these pools, that can cause a lot of economic instability. So we're proud at the Tucson IDA, we have some of the lowest default rates in the country. We have a really healthy program. And part of that is because we've added a lot of homebuyer education to our programs as well. But that is something that we do keep an eye on, is as we're ensuring that the folks that are buying the houses are able to stay in their homes and not taking on too much.
Does the IDA actually buy any of those bonds, or is it all happening at the federal level that people are purchasing those bonds and then money's just coming locally, or does the IDA actually issue?
Yes, that's exactly right. We actually buy the bond. So that's exactly what this slide is about. So a bond is a loan. That's kind of the same, that's what they always sort of simplify it to. So the IDA, we actually take out a massive loan. So $25 million. And so it puts the IDA at a large amount of risk. So every time that we issue one of these bonds, if the market fluctuated a lot and we had locked the rate at, let's say, 6%, and then let's say the interest went down to 5%, we would suddenly have a lot of product at 6% that no one would want to buy. So it does put us at risk because we buy a lot of mortgages at a certain rate. And so it puts us at risk. And just like all loans, we have to put our own capital on the line, like equity. So it costs about $1 million every time we do about a $25 million bond issue, which is part of the reason that we partner with Pima IDA so that we can put in 500,000, they can put in 500,000, and then we do the 25 million together. So that helps us defray some of the actual costs as well. But it is expensive. So a lot of cities and states help their HFAs pay for this cost of issuance. So for example, at the state level, you might have seen Arizona as home. There was a big announcement about it. The Hobbs administration just gave $10 million to the Arizona IDA to do this program, Arizona as home. And that's what they were doing. They were using this $10 million in order to help the Arizona IDA buy these. But those were only for rural areas. We had made a pitch that they take some of that $10 million and create an opportunity for urban cities as well to access that capital, but we weren't successful. But currently, all of that cash comes out of our operating budget. And so the Tucson IDA, most of that comes from parking lot revenue. And so we've only really been able to participate in 2 of the 6 issuances that have been in the past year and a half because of the limited, how expensive these are. Does that answer your question?
I think so. So you said you're buying up the mortgages. Is that buying up the bonds?
No, we buy the bonds initially and then we sell them on the market. So the bondholders will buy them, the mortgages at the end. So investors buy them. They're pooled and sold by our hedge partner, which is Stifel.
That's the mortgages.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So first-time home buyers, like I said, this was set up for first-time home buyers, but it also aims to reach these other groups. And we do this through set-asides. So of that 25 million, we create these set-asides that can only go to these particular groups. So manufactured housing has to be 10% of each bond. Low-income individuals, which they defined as 100% AMI, have to be 30% of each bond. And then federally targeted areas, which are low-income census tracts, have to be 20% of each bond. And if you're a veteran, you don't need to be a first-time home buyer, or if you're purchasing in one of these defined distressed areas, you don't need to be a first-time home buyer. And they define first-time home buyer as someone who hasn't bought a home in the last 3 years. Other things that we've added to this program is added home buyer education with a HUD certified counselor. We've chosen to make the down payment forgivable. So after 5 years, if you've stayed in your house, that down payment, which on average is about $10,000, just you don't have to pay that back. So that we've added a forgivable component to our product. And then also all lenders have to complete training. So we have about 500 lenders that have been that are trained in our program. And then we monitor them fairly closely to enforce any program compliance and make sure that nobody is, reserving or baby guarding this capital. So we watch that. And if they are, then they're not allowed to use the program again. So those are things that we do to really try to ensure that we're implementing the program well. I'm going to hand it off to Nicole at this point and talk a little bit more about who are the folks that are using our program here.
Thank you, Dre. Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole. So we'll go over the high-level program qualifications that we make public on our website, and we also post frequently on social media to take a really home buyer-focused approach to marketing. So as Dre mentioned, this is a program designed for first-time home buyers, and exceptions do apply, that being purchases in target areas based upon U.S. Census tract, as well as veterans purchasing. The minimum credit score that we are looking for is 640 with a debt to income ratio of 45%, and some exceptions apply to that for higher FICO scores. And this program is eligible for purchases in Tucson and Pima County. We base the income household limits based upon a household size, and the purchase price limits are all federally decided. So these are also the same qualifications that align with the mortgage credit certificate program, which is really great because it's familiar to our audience. And the lenders that are approved to deliver this to homebuyers in our community are taken through an education process and do sign documentation affirming that they are aware of the qualifications and the healthy way to deliver this to our community. As far as our marketing and communications approach, we're really proactive about our awareness campaign, knowing that the funds of these programs are originated so quickly. In fact, the first iteration of Lighthouse was available for about 3.5 weeks to prospective home buyers. But once the community got a hold of the gold that this program offers and the opportunity to purchase a home with such a low rate and that 4% down payment assistance, we're finding that as soon as we launch Lighthouse, within a couple of hours, definitely within the first day, the majority of that 25 million is reserved. And so we have made it a very proactive approach to, as soon as we know when the rate is going to be announced, we market it through over 2,000 of our loan officers through our email list, as well as posting active on social media to ensure that the public is aware of this program weeks in advance so that they can get all of their ducks in a row and really be under contract to capitalize on this program. And as far as urgent housing needs, we have found that we receive inquiries through our inbox and through social media of those who are in need of urgent housing assistance. And those are not necessarily prospective homebuyers that are near to buying a home. Those are just really dire situations that we have partnered very closely with Family Housing Resources, who serves that niche in our community for immediate assistance, and they follow up with a warm handoff within 24 hours. So we have found that we've been able to increase that support. As far as our community impact, all tout our numbers. As Dre mentioned at the beginning of this, we've delivered over 5 million in down payment assistance. The economic impact within our community has been pretty massive. And this is a breakdown of the amount of loans and the amount of families served at each Lighthouse iteration. We have found that each Lighthouse iteration serves over 90 to 95 families each time. We're looking forward to launching the 6th Lighthouse on September 11th. Reservations are open. And with each launch, we've deployed over 1 million in down payment assistance to these families. I'll run through some demographics, and please feel free to ask for any clarifications. So these are screenshots from our reporting systems. We keep a very sharp eye to ensure that the program is equitable and that the numbers are spread across a vast array of individuals. So as you can see, the annual income really peaks at that sweet spot of $60,000 to $75,000 is our average household income. And many of these households are very early home buyers. So they're in about their late 20s, early 30s, even to mid to late 30s. But across the spectrum, the age group has ranged from as low as 23 years old all the way up to 82. So we're still reaching a vast variety of ages and demographic identifications. So I broke down the household income based upon a 1-person household, 2-person, 3-person, and 4+, as you can see in this lower row, to be sure that we're really meeting that low to moderate income target range. And we found that, of course, the single family detached is the most popular purchase made through this program, but we also afford the opportunity to purchase a condominium, a duplex with approval of the purchase, as well as manufactured housing and townhomes. Our spread among our Hispanic community is pretty impressive, with about 62% of our home buyers identifying as Hispanic. And this is an appendix. I really like to chew on these numbers to keep a sharp eye, to make sure that there's no anomalies, that we're able to adjust if needed, and that we're continuing to be on the pulse of the needs of the homebuyers in our community. So as you can see, the average credit score is about low 700s. We also partner with our lenders in terms of financial education and credit support. We're hoping to expand our offerings specifically for our first-time homebuyers to ensure that they have the bridge to even get to that qualifiable credit score. But this is where we're at with our lighthouse, and thank you so much for the time.
So, we can take any questions if there are additional questions.
Yes, I have a question. For the program qualifications, you list 2 to 4 unit properties must be at least 5 years old, no new construction. I just wondered what the reasoning was behind that. Yeah, that's.
Oh, those are just the federal guidelines.
Oh. Do you know what their reasoning was?
No.
I have a question. Would a boxcar being renovated into housing qualify?
A what?
A boxcar, the kind, the container, pardon? A shipping container? A shipping container.
A shipping container?
I'm dating myself.
Would they qualify as manufactured? I mean, so what we would be they would work with their lenders for specific questions like that. They would be working with their lenders. And so the loans are like FHA loans. Do they qualify as manufactured homes? No,
I think
right?
that's a great response, Dre. The loan officers are very adept in understanding where the loopholes are, and there are opportunities for manual underwriting. So we rely upon our loan officers to really dig deep and ensure that they're supplying the correct documentation to validate that it meets the purchase criteria of these government loans.
Thanks for the presentation. This is Kenny. I was curious in the diagram, just so I can understand, where is Tucson IDA in that purchasing diagram? It's fine, I imagine, like security, but
I don't think it's.
I was just curious where in the diagram the Tucson IDA is in that.
Yeah, we initially purchased the bond that locks the mortgage rate. So we are sort of we're at the early stage, and then as the buyers start to buy the home, so we're sort of before that originates, because we've locked the mortgage rate. And so we've bought down the mortgage rate and the down payment assistance. So we're before that cycle. That's kind of what happens after the mortgage has been purchased and then sold to US Bank, and then is then bundled and then sold to investors.
Thanks for the clarification. And then with the, you were mentioning about the zip codes and the census tracts that were eligible for some of the set-asides. Could you, is that the same as the qualified census tracts that HUD issues for like ITech? And then how is the zip code determination being, where is that guidance coming from?
Yeah, we have a list. It is pretty similar. They update them every year. And we have it all listed on our website, which census tracts are listed as the qualified census tracts. And they're exactly the same as the mortgage credit certificate as well. So they're all the ones that would go for that volume cap. So the LIHTC as well.
Trey, I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you guys running out of volume cap on the bonds? Because I know like for 4% tax credits, there are no more 4% tax credits. And I was told it was used for primarily for single family housing, and I'm sure this is a component of that, but are you guys being affected by the same thing?
Yeah, there is a certain amount each year that's just auto allocated. So, City of Tucson is auto allocated 21 million at the beginning of every year, for the single family home programs. And so that is sort of our designated amount that we are allowed to use each year. And then we can either waive that and if we waive that, that goes into the multifamily, or can be used by other entities. So that is one thing that we are advocating at the federal level, is to separate out the multifamily and the single family so that we're not in the same pot. So yes, we are impacted in the same way. If volume cap is out for everyone, it's out for us as well. We can't do any more.
So is this round 6 then is your last for the year? Or do you have others lined up?
Yeah, this last round, September 6th, will have to be the last of the year because there's no more volume cap. They're using their final allocation from PIMA IDA to use this. And then we're gonna renew again for January for our refreshed allocations.
This is Ray. I was wondering about the income guidelines and if that's set on a federal level or if you have any sway in that. Thinking if they go so fast, like, is it possible to lower the income limits so you're really focusing on even lower income buyers, or is there any decision-making power on the local level for that?
The income level, the ceiling is set at the federal level. And then there's also credit scores would be sort of the basement, I guess, is kind of like where you would see. And then also if you just don't qualify for enough house. So those are set federally. I think the way that we've seen the most success is really about specific marketing and communication and targeting. And so that's, I think, why our program has been able to meet a lot of all of our requirements. So a lot of programs don't meet their 30%, 10%, 20%, but we do really specific targeting to ensure that all of our allocations are met through targeting marketing. So you can do set asides. So those are things that we could do. But in terms of who qualifies for a home, I mean, those are set by their federal guidelines, but you can't exceed that.
This is Kenny. And just a follow-up question on the targeting areas. Are you able to track, like, if residents that are applying from within those census tracts or within those zip codes, if they're able to access the program to then purchase within the same, communities that
Well, I guess, can you restate the question? I'm not clear on the question.
Yeah, just with the census tract targeting, I wondered if you were collecting any information, if you could tell if let's say renters or households already within those census tracts were able to then take advantage of the program to purchase within those same areas.
Oh, okay. If they were previous renters, if then they become buyers of those areas. No, we do. I mean, we track if you buy in that area, but not their previous address. I don't think that's something that we have access to. Is it, Nicole?
I don't believe so because the data that we collect just contains the purchase address. I'm not aware that the system collects the rental address.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'd be curious to see if it's possible to collect that. You know, that would seem to be a really great outcome, right? If you are applying from within the same, you know, census tract, zip code, whatever it might be, that we're then able to, you know, have that stability.
Sounds like a research grant for the Drockman Institute.
Fishing.
We could explore that. You sound like a social scientist.
Yeah, I mean, you know, just we're thinking about different pathways, right, into homeownership, and I think that would be one great outcome of, you know, if we could measure that.
It was my understanding that most of Tucson qualified. So maybe it's within a different zip code, but is that accurate, Dre or Nicole? Is most of Tucson, most of the city limits at least, considered a qualified area?
There's a significant, it's pretty extensive, the number of zip codes that are in the Tucson metro area, that do qualify. I would say you're gonna, there's far fewer that don't qualify than do.
And the main difference there, if it's a qualified area, is people can make more money if they're buying in the census tract, is that right?
And they don't have to be a first-time home buyer.
Okay.
Is it the same qualified census tract as what's on HUD? QCT, it's the same designated areas.
Yeah, well, there's a couple ones, but yes, that should be the same one. I think Nick, yeah. Yeah, Nicole put it in the chat so you can see the exact
Yeah,
one.
so HUD defines qualified census tracts each year, and they change year by year, so they're in general pretty similar, but they can make adjustments where certain areas go into them or come out. But it is a federally designated area.
It seems like the structure of that is like actually setting up, this is my assumption there, for having people who are, with the word gentrifying those neighborhoods, like people who aren't first-time home buyers and make a higher income can buy in those tracts. Is that a set aside that you have to do, or is that an option?
That is a required set aside, yeah.
Any other questions for Dre and Nicole? Dre, thank you very much. So any final thoughts or any other things you want to leave us with?
No, I hope that was a helpful explanation of the program.
Well, we really appreciate you joining us today. Thank you. And as always, it's a very informative presentation. And I don't think as a commission, we spend enough time talking about single family affordable. We spend a lot of time talking about rentals, and this is I think what you guys are doing is great. So thank you.
All right, thank you guys. Take
Thank
care.
you.
All right, so we are on time so far. Our next agenda item is the P-CHIP update to Rena.
All set up. Can you all hear me online?
Yes, we can hear you, Lena.
Great. So this is just going to be a quick update, but our public draft for the People, Communities, and Homes Investment Plan is actually going to be out hopefully late tomorrow or Monday. So it's going to be open for public feedback for about 2 weeks. Today, I'm just going to be going over the draft priorities and goals in the actual draft itself. That gets into the nitty-gritty specific actions between them. So this presentation today is a little more higher level, just showing where our priorities for each city are going to be over the next 5 years and some of those goals that are attached to those priorities. So just a reminder of where we are in our timeline. So, yep, so September community and stakeholder review is kind of where we're at. And then from here, it's going to be just the final draft in early October and hopefully mayor and council adoption right after that. Before getting into the priorities and goals, we did develop these cross-cutting principles that we thought kind of reflect all of the priorities and all of the goals and all of the actions throughout the plan. So what those are connection and belonging, racial and social equity, climate resiliency, the prosperity initiative, making sure that we're building a workforce to deliver on all these priorities that we're outlining in the plan, as well as expanding the availability of funding and resources so we can also achieve all these priorities and goals. In the public draft itself, it kind of goes into more of explanations of kind of why we chose these cross-cutting principles and goes into more detail. But I'll just kind of jump into our priorities. So our first priority, and these aren't in a specific order, they're just kind of outlined as kind of the people vision, the communities, and the homes. So priority A, we have solve homelessness. And the goals underneath that are goal kind of A1, provide stable, safe, accessible housing or shelter with a housing first approach, housing that has no or few barriers to entry for those experiencing homelessness. Goal A2, address the root causes of homelessness through system and policy change. Goal A3, strengthen and expand the housing safety net to prevent homelessness and create service-rich housing environments. And goal A4, support an efficient and effective services system based on evidence and data. And again, there are lots of specific actions that go under all of these goals that you'll all be able to review in the public draft. Just kind of giving that broader overview. And I'll probably, if people have questions, feel free to interrupt me or call out, but I'm just going to kind of go through these. Priority B, optimize behavioral, emotional, and physical health with goal B1, improve equitable access to affordable quality health care, including care for behavioral health and substance use disorders. Goal B2, promote healthy lifestyles, access to nutritious food, and programs that reduce health risk factors. Goal B3, foster community connections to address social isolation. Priority C, reduce poverty and ensure dignity for all. So expand economic mobility opportunities for low-income populations. Goal C2, reduce barriers to ensure equitable access to quality education, work, self-sufficiency, and training opportunities. Priority D, support equitable and sustainable neighborhoods. Goal D1, develop safe, convenient, and connected transit and mobility options. Goal D2, enhance outdoor public spaces and improve resilience to extreme heat, to drought, fire, and other emergencies. Goal D3, reduce crime and enhance safety. Goal D4, continue existing and expand equitable place-based community reinvestment efforts. Priority E, increase affordable and attainable housing options. With goal E1, preserve, enhance, and expand the supply of high-quality, affordable rental housing. Goal E2, prioritize building affordable housing and diverse housing types to meet the various housing needs of Tucsonans. Goal E3, transform city and public housing. Priority F, expand homebuyer and homeowner assistance opportunities. Goal F1, reduce barriers to homeownership. Goal F2, reduce threats to homeownership stability. Goal F3, expand supply of affordable housing to homeownership housing. Affordable housing. Priority G, ensure healthy, sustainable, and safe homes. With goal 1, expand access to healthy, safe, and sustainable housing. Goal G2, reduce and mitigate evictions and foreclosures. And then the last priority, priority H, improve equity in housing. With goal H1, to reduce housing segregation and its effects. and goal H2 to target affordable housing investments in areas of opportunity. And again, that was a lot at once, but this is kind of just trying to get you excited to read the public draft when it comes out tomorrow. We'll be sure that we'll send it to all the commissioners. Again, it will be open for 2 weeks for public input. All of the priorities, goals, and actions came from feedback from the focus groups we had, from the community engagement efforts, and from you all. We'll have an online survey that's attached to the draft where you can provide your feedback on the different sections. And we're also hosting a virtual community meeting on September 17th at 5:30 on Zoom. And that information will also be sent out to you all if you would like to register. And yeah, I guess from here, again, we'll just have the stakeholder review and our final draft and we'll get this plan adopted. That's all I have. Thank you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does the plan go into how the goals are gonna be met, or just outline the goals?
So those are what the actions underneath all, those are gonna be how we achieve.
Questions?
I think you guys are doing great.
Yeah.
I mean, it just keeps getting better and better, so.
Well, we will be eager for feedback,
Yeah.
on the draft, if there's things we're missing, if there's words you don't understand, if it's overcomplicated words, please give us feedback. We really want this to be something that both for community members in terms of our nonprofit grant making, but then also we are viewing this version as also a strategic plan for the department. And so we'll be really eager to hear if there are things we missed, things you feel like need to be changed.
Does that mean it's replacing the past plan?
No, so the past plan goes into more detail specifically on preservation and housing supply. And we incorporated a lot of the HAS language in here, but since now the HAS plan is getting a bit dated, there's some more information and a little more detail in subsections.
People online are having difficulty still hearing. Please,
Okay.
please speak up.
Okay, any final questions on the PCHIP report?
I was speaking right ahead if I could.
Mhm.
I'm sorry, I had to leave the room because I was waiting for a call from the doctor. But on the lighthouse, I'm wondering if I missed something in here based on your question about, do you think that it is potential setup for gentrification and or pushing people out of neighborhoods? I wasn't getting the gist of what both of you were saying, and so I wanted to hear more if we could indulge.
Well, I mean, I guess that was my question in terms of like who has access to the program and who's successful through it. So I think that's an important piece of information. If we can, applicants are applying from somewhere. And so I think that's what Meg was also building.
Yeah, I think, just looking at the incomes of how much people were making, it didn't look like it was that targeted towards low income, especially for the exemption that if you're purchasing in a distressed area, that you can have a higher income and you don't have to be a first time home buyer. To me, that's saying exactly, I would have a pretty strong guess, I think, at where people are coming from. There's probably not people who are already living in that neighborhood. Okay. If they can have a higher income and not be a first time home buyer. So I mean, I'm saying that that's what's happening overall in the program. Like, it starts to seem like it's targeting first time home buyers and most things, but especially that exemption, to me, I would question that exemption. It's like, I don't know what role the commission has in this program
We
at all
don't.
too. They're like presenting to us and I don't want to like criticize the work they're doing, like absolutely, like thank you for that work. And if I were in a place where we're having a conversation of like, how does this align with our goals or not? I would want to remove that exemption, honestly. that you shouldn't have a higher income and not be a first-time home buyer if you're buying in a distressed area. I would more err on the other, which is like, could we have a lower credit score exemption if you're renting in a low-income area and want to buy? Like, what would be an actual proactive thing to do the opposite of making opportunities for gentrification?
Okay, well, those are really good points, and I was getting confused, so I'm glad I asked the question. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Can I ask a really basic question about P-CHIP again, just to make sure I'm totally understanding? So this plan is mostly to be able to prioritize how grants are made to the community with that funding source, is that right? Am I missing some other part of like this?
It's that, and then it's also now kind of the HCD strategic plan as well. So it's kind of both in the same.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, and just the history there, we've always had a human services plan that really helps define the general fund we get that goes to nonprofits and then the fund dollars that goes to nonprofits. And so the last time we did this, we started to realize there was a lot of information about other things, the needs and really sort of looking at this more holistically, but it didn't capture everything HCD does. So we're really trying to have this be a document that can help guide us as well as the nonprofit grant making. So we'll see how well we, you know.
Okay,
it's just-
oh, you're gonna get some feedback.
I see Vicky's hand raised.
Hey, Vicky, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm really begging some of you to speak up. The captioning is picking up every couple of words. The speakers who were presenting, I could hear, but all of that last conversation from all of you, I could only get a few words.
Okay.
Me too. My hearing aids are as high as they can go.
Okay. All right, anybody else on P-CHIP?
Good job.
Yeah, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is HCD updates. Ann?
Yeah, hi.
Hi.
It's been a while, so I did ask for a little more time today to mention a few things HCD is working on. And happy to agendize if you have questions on any of these. Happy to add them to a future agenda. Before I go into that, I do want to make sure everyone knows who is sitting here at the table. You probably know her, but Manisha, do you mind this is one HCD update?
Sure. Manisha Butra. I am now the Strategic Planning and Community Engagement Manager or Space Manager here in HCD. Supporting Allison, Lena, Neto, Laura, Rachel, and who am I forgetting? Jeremiah on the space team. I came from the mayor's office where I was serving for about 2.5 years as Mayor Romano's Planning, Mobility, and Development Advisor. I'm a planner. In my background, I sort of feel like I've dipped in and out of like the housing and community development world throughout my career. I started my career at a community-based development corporation in Baltimore and kind of went from there. So I'm really excited to kind of bring things full circle in a way in this role.
So we are excited to have Manisha. As you likely know, we've been busy. And so she is taking the position that Allison had kind of vacated. And so providing a lot of support to our planning team, including the P-CHIP team. So really grateful to have her here. And before I go into some more other updates, also want to see if PDSD has any other, I consider it the HCD/city updates.
I think our update is really around the corridor redevelopment tools that we presented, I think back in May to the commission. We have been moving forward with those. We actually shared a draft proposal, kind of a framework for those tools with the community in last month. Got a lot of great feedback, and we're now developing a code proposal that will be shared probably late September, early October. We'll do another round of community engagement around that. And these are the tools we've been working on to facilitate more mixed-use development, especially housing development along corridors. And then those code amendments will go to Planning Commission and then Mayor and Council. We're hoping to get this to Mayor and Council before the end of the year. That's the timeframe we're on. So we'll keep the commission updated, especially on those opportunities for public engagement and to attend community meetings to hear more and share feedback. I guess one other thing, actually, well, I guess we'll do it in the subcommittee updates. I can update on the fast track. Thanks, Dan.
Yeah. So updates from HCD, I presented to the Public Housing Board of Commissioners this past week an update on our, we're calling it the Public Housing Authority Financial Stability Plan, which is also what HUD calls asset repositioning. So it had been a year since I presented to the board. And so what we really focused on in that presentation is the single family homes. And so as we've talked about many times, and some of you participated in our working group this past year, really looking at how do we prioritize what homes we should sell, what homes we should keep, what should that look like. And so based on the working group conversation, as well as some conversations with HCD and the city, we analyzed 469 single family homes that are part of our public housing portfolio. And we ran them through criteria based on the input from the working group, including criteria involved older homes, whether the homes were in a homeowners association, whether they were outside of city limits, whether they have a low opportunity score. So you likely remember the opportunity mapping that we did before. So we looked at how many of the homes are in a lower opportunity score, how many were over 4 miles from a HCD maintenance office, how many were over a 1/4 mile from a transit stop. And then we also looked at whether we've invested or not invested in those homes. And so based on that criteria, thank you, Lena, GIS folks in the wizard background, we recommended to Mayor and Council that we keep 215 of those homes and that we sell 254 of those homes. I finished the presentation saying we're not yet ready to talk about, make recommendations related to the ones we're gonna sell. We're in conversations with HUD, with Phoenix, who has been doing this since the early 2000s and has had a lot of lessons learned for us. We're in conversations with community partners like the IDA. And so really want to make sure I provide to Mayor and Council and the Board of Commissioners really pros and cons for them to make good policy related to that. So that will be coming. I may, really open to input in terms of what that looks like. But given we've identified we want to keep 215 of them, what we will be doing is preparing a draft application to HUD to convert those from public housing to the voucher platform. And so the goal there is to really bring in increased revenues for keeping the homes we're going to keep. That will really allow us to maintain those homes far better than we're able to today. And so that's the piece we'll be moving forward with right now. And so as part of that, we will be hosting at least one resident public meeting. I don't know yet when that's going to be. We will keep you updated, but wanted to make sure you knew that that was happening. And again, if anyone wants more information on any of this, happy to agendize it for the next meeting.
I just have one question. the homes that you're not keeping, is the city going to bring them up to a certain,
It depends on, so, and
so it's gonna be as is?
so it depends. So the conversation with HUD and what I shared to the Board of Commissioners, there's sort of 4 options for the homes that we are looking to sell. The first option, working with nonprofits and doing affordable homeownership, yes, the homes would have to be renovated. A challenge, and I was thinking about this with Lighthouse, that Phoenix described to us, that, you know, renovating it takes time. 2 is then they appraise at a higher value, higher than low income families can qualify for the mortgage. And so that's why I don't feel like I have enough information yet, but that's one strategy. Second strategy is to sell to organizations or developers who will continue to rent them to low income families. They would have to agree to a 30-year commitment to rent them to low income families.
Would there be funds from the city to rehab those?
So, depending, you know, again, just really not ready to provide sophisticated recommendations. A third option that HUD makes available for this is to sell the homes, but then they really dictate what you can do with those proceeds. It has to go into affordable housing development. And so really sort of thinking about, you can sell them at market, but then the proceeds are really looked at in terms of what you do with that money. And then the fourth option that HUD has been in consultation with us is land trust, really creating more affordable homeownership opportunities through the land trust. So trying to find out more about all of that, and so at a future date, hoping to have more information.
Interesting and overwhelming.
It is a lot.
I have a question about the people that are living in those houses now.
So the ones that we're gonna keep, they will go from being public housing residents to housing choice voucher participants.
With the other people.
So the ones we're gonna sell, and some are vacant now. Many of them do have people in them. They will get a voucher. I mean, best case scenario, they qualify and can actually buy those homes. Best case scenario. Given incomes and all of that, that may not happen for most of these homes. So they would get a voucher and housing navigation assistance to find a place. I am committed to making sure everybody has a place before any sales move forward.
That's all I need.
Yeah.
They said it's a 219, they're bringing vouchers at 245 homes.
200, and this is, you know, still sort of analyzing, but 215 to keep and 254 to sell.
Thank you.
Okay, second update from HCD/the city. You may have seen at the last mayor and council meeting, mayor and council discussed a potential sales tax initiative that they will be discussing again at their September 11th meeting. So that sales tax initiative is really based on community engagement that was done around the budget and what community members have indicated they really feel like the city should be focusing on. There's also a piece to this of the decreased revenue from the state and really trying to provide the services the community has asked for. And so what was discussed on Tuesday, you can go back and look at YouTube. The presentations are available in materials, but there are 5 categories that mayor and council have discussed, including into that package. One of the categories is affordable housing and shelter. So there were many different activities within that affordable housing and shelter. Total, they are estimating that would generate around the total bond would generate about $80 million a year. About 14 million of that would go towards this affordable housing and shelter category. The second category that is very closely related is neighborhood and community resilience. And there are items in that category that I think also play very closely into the work that HCD does. So, yeah, want to make sure you all know that was discussed at the last mayor and council, and there will be more information coming. Should it be sent to the ballot, then I would propose we have a more detailed presentation and have the votes from the manager's office here at a future meeting. As of now, if that happens, it's scheduled, they talked about it would go to voters on March 11th of next year. The sales tax. Yeah. So it would be up for a vote in March.
My question about that is, it may not be known yet and might be premature, but let's say this does go to the ballot. I know when we have talked as a commission about, you know, a housing bond that's only focused on housing, would this then limit, I'm assuming, the city's ability to have a full-blown housing bond sometime in the future? Because I know the bonding capacity and all of that is, you know, an issue in terms of what can be bonded and what can be done for housing through a bond.
I think a lot of things aren't known yet, and feel like the manager's office would be better to answer that. That said, my time in the manager's office, the sales tax initiatives doesn't preclude bonding. And so it's really bonding capacity dictates how much bonding can move forward. And so I would consider these sort of apples and oranges.
Yeah,
You mentioned bond when you were talking about affordable housing and so I got confused with that.
Sorry.
Yeah, right, it's sales
Only
tax.
sales tax.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is
thank
what's
you.
being discussed at this time.
Okay,
Sorry.
all right, that's.
Related to the proceeds from the single family sales, as well as the potential sales tax, I was curious, you know, there's a bit about like gap financing. Is that specifically for the housing trust fund that the city has, or is there a distinction to be made?
Good question. Again, I think a lot hasn't been fully, my impression right now is the categories are known based on need, but sort of what that looks like has not been flushed out. And I think the commission is welcome to make recommendations in terms of that.
We should talk about that question. Any years.
Well, I guess with the sales proceeds, I guess from the I wasn't clear what this was.
And the sales proceed for, and I don't want to kind of confuse these two, in terms of that, that would be focused on ensuring the properties we have are of good quality and we're doing what we need to be doing as a public housing authority and affordable housing development. But what that looks like, again, the commission is always welcome to make recommendations.
So this, I'm super encouraged.
Can everybody hear? I'm hoping.
So if you guys remember, with the affordable housing goal that we set out to 15,000 units by 2030, there was a blurb on the bottom of what we think the city needs to do in order to achieve that goal. And it was between $15 to $50 million per year investment. It's kind of the numbers that, you know, we were throwing around. So that the bond initiative, which we've been talking about with the county, I think that would generate a lot of money. How much, it depends on how the bond is structured. City of Flagstaff, when they passed theirs, generated $25 million. City of Flagstaff is a tenth the size of Tucson. So that would generate a lot of money, but this is also amazing, and I'm very encouraged by it.
I see a question online, Maddie.
Are you calling on me, Ann? Can hardly hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so one more, the other thing that Dre didn't mention, but you know how she did, well, she mentioned it, but this could perhaps be another ask for mayor and council was that, you know, it costs a lot of money to put these mortgage revenue bonds up and to the tune of $1 million for every $25 million out there. And I think she kind of mentioned it at the housing committee meeting, the Affordable Housing Committee, that, you know, this could be another ask as part of our overall goals would be, you know, to get some help. The City of Tucson IDA has not participated in these mortgage revenue bonds because they don't have the capital. So that was another question, and you know, that I'm throwing out there too, that this could be part of our overall goals and ask to mayor and council.
Okay, Juana, I know you have more on your agenda, a few other updates. Happy to go into more detail at a future date, but of course, our El Pueblo housing development has been very busy. We are just hit 1 year of construction at Milagro on Oracle and are winding that project down. We anticipate in a few months that will be, once we have once we know when that project will be complete, we will be scheduling a ribbon cutting and we'll hope that you all can come. Pretty exciting. Sugar Hill on Stone, we just held a public meeting for another tax credit project through El Pueblo Housing Development. We had a good public meeting and that project is moving forward in design. We anticipate being under construction kind of first half of next year. And then South 10th Avenue, I know there were questions before. That is a large project. We are still in the very early pre-development phase 4 on a couple items. We have scheduled a listening session that's only for the neighborhood. So that is coming up. We sent mailers out at the request of folks within the neighborhood to the people within the West Ochoa Neighborhood Association. And then on Wednesday, October, I'm looking at October 2nd. On Wednesday, October 2nd, we will be hosting another public meeting related to the South 10th Avenue project. This meeting will be focused on concerns the community has expressed around environmental concerns. So like any project, the city has already done a lot of environmental testing, a lot of work. So we will have the consultants who worked on those plans there. We will have Arizona Department of Environmental Quality. We will have Pima County Department of Environmental Quality, our environmental services people, and our public and Pima County Public Health is my understanding. So if people have any questions related to the environmental condition, hopefully someone there will be able to ask those questions.
Do you have any idea of what's driving those questions? That's an unusual.
I think history. Just recognizing that in the past, concern of environmental justified concern on other projects in other areas to date. The environmental assessments we have done have come back quite good in terms of what we see there. But I can understand just wanting to make sure.
It's because it's a site of a.
It was a former, transfer station. At one point I had heard somebody had said landfill. That's not accurate. It's a used to be a refuse transfer station. And so that meeting is at what time?
5:30.
5:30.
Santa Rosa Community Center on South 10th.
Wednesday, October 2nd. Wanted to mention a spotlight in the mayor's recent newsletter on the Commission on Equitable Housing and Development featuring Kenny. Any comments there?
No, just going.
Yeah. Did we send it out, Betcha? Let's make sure we send out that
I haven't
very
seen it.
nice newsletter spotlight on Kenny and the commission in a recent newsletter of hers.
Cool.
And then
Autograph.
That's, yeah.
it's pretty cool, I will say. And then my last update, and this probably plays into some of your agenda items, we should have Southwest Decision Resources under contract. Do we have an update from procurement?
So they have, so everything's been approved for the contract. They are now working through the actual contracting process.
So
I was told it was top priority when I checked in last week.
I am hoping before the next commission meeting, we'll have that finalized.
Next year?
I will gladly send that email right.
Should, so that is one update. I know you have been wanting facilitation and support. And I had said we would do that for 6 months. Didn't mention it might take 6 months to get there, but we are close to getting there. So, okay, those are my updates this month.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you need any of us to speak on behalf of affordable housing?
I think that is up to you all. I mean, feel free. But
To speak at what?
This tenth, if it's controversial.
I mean, and I think, again, that's something, if you want more information, happy to give a more detailed presentation on that project. I do think having people who are interested in seeing more housing happen in our community will be helpful.
And just a clarification on that meeting, was it just for the neighborhood residents or is that open to the?
The listening session is just for neighborhood residents at their request. The environmental meeting is public, open to anyone who wants to come.
Okay, well, if you do feel like you're gonna get a lot of opposition and NIMBYism, you need support, feel free to reach out to this group. All with that.
And I mean, if you want a more detailed presentation on this project, happy to do that at a future meeting as well.
Okay.
We don't know a lot because we still want good community engagement to inform the plan, but we did make a presentation at the last public meeting that we can share kind of what we've done, where, why, what our thoughts are with this project.
All right, anything else on the HCD updates?
I asked a question of something a while ago about the community engagement session for public housing. Would that go to everyone who lives in scattered sites?
Good question. We're still sort of figuring out what that all looks like. But yes, it would for sure go to the ones that we're going to keep, since this focus of this application is the ones we're going to keep. Since we still don't know what the other one's going to go to, I don't know what that looks like.
And you'll share that info with
Yeah.
the group too here.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Ann. Our next agenda item is the QAP letter update. I think this is going to be a pretty quick discussion. So this is the first time that we have sent a recommendation letter to somebody besides the city.
Is that up on can we see the letter?
It's what we approved last month. So the commission, yeah, we approved it last month. So I guess, Neto, I know that you were out, but is there anything we need to do to get that sent? Is that something that I need to send, or logistically, how do we do that?
Can Jim send it or?
To ADOH.
It's a letter to ADOH.
Whichever you prefer, and whether you want to send it as the chair or you want HCD to send as the supporting agency, whatever you prefer.
I'm happy to send it, but I can't finalize it because I don't have a template for the city's letterhead and all that stuff. So if you guys can finalize it and send it all, I'll be happy to send it up to their email.
Okay.
Okay.
We just need to do it fairly quickly.
Yeah, I think the comment period ends like a week.
Okay, thank you. We always send a letter and I have not done that yet.
Okay. So I think that's it on that. Is there anybody else that wants to say anything about the QAP update? I just, housing conference was 2 weeks ago, I think, up in Phoenix. So in general terms, they basically, EDOH told everybody they're not making any major changes to the QAP this year. It was a 2-year QAP. So chances are that the feedback that we're going to give them is not going to get incorporated for 25. It would most likely get incorporated for 26. Most likely this next round is going to be a very difficult round again, because there was an Affordable Housing Credit Improvement Act that went through the House and stalled out in the Senate, and prevailing thought is it's not going to get passed now before the election. So it does have, in general terms, bipartisan support. So there's a good chance it's going to happen next year, early next year. So, but it's probably not going to happen in time to increase the allocation for 2025 or 26. So it's 25, they're forward allocating 26 credits. So last year there was, I think, $22 million in credits were allocated, which was about a 50% drop from the previous year. So it's going to be very, very competitive and pretty thin round again.
And they're forward allocating, so they're using next year's allocation to fund a current year of tax.
Okay, next agenda item is appointment of a new chair and vice chair. Per our bylaws, I'm only able to serve for 4 years, and that 4 years is up today.
Wow.
So I put some, I was thinking about kind of some of the things that we've done. So I just put together a couple pages, and I just want to kind of recap before we talk about who's going to be doing it next. Some of the accomplishments of the commission. Okay, so yeah, Neto's got it on the screen. So, I've said this a number of times. The reason that I joined the commission initially was because I wanted to see Tucson do a better job competing for the affordable housing dollars. And it is a competition. And so, in the recommendations that we made to Mayor and Council October of 22, this was a graph that was included that showed how many credits came to Pima County versus the total allocation. You can see over the 6 years, it was an average of 9.9%, 14% of the state's population is in Pima County. So there were some changes made in terms of the processes of how home funds and housing vouchers were allocated to better compete. And I think the mayor made some phone calls as well that helped the city. And so for the last 2 years, you can see what's happened is in 2023, we received 28.9% tax credit allocation. And then this 2024, we received 27%. So that's amazing. That's I think something that we should be proud of is, we went from getting less than what I thought we should get to more than double, probably what we should get. So that's probably
saying that. Okay, Grace.
So that's probably not a trend that we should expect to continue, but it is a very good thing, and I think it's something that we can be proud of. So Choice Neighborhood Grant, this is a huge win for the city of Tucson. HCD received a $50 million federal grant for the Thrive in 05 district, which is enabling the rehab of Tucson House, plus a bunch of other significant projects like Milagro and Oracle, like Sugar House. All of those are part of the Thrive in 05. We played a small part of that. I don't think we played.
Sugar House.
Sugar House.
Sugar
Sorry. I tend to do that. So, you know, we didn't play a huge role in that, but we were a feedback checkpoint for HCD through that application process.
And I do want to co-sign that comment. Even if you don't think you're having a direct influence, the conversations here, the conversations in the subcommittees, all of that sort of informs that work. And in particular, I think of some conversations that sort of impacted how we wrote that application.
Home funds. So Jay and I were talking yesterday about kind of comparing the city's CHD to the county's Affordable Housing Commission. And, you know, the one thing, the county has $5 million that they put aside for affordable housing, and they just give it to the commission, say, you guys figure out who gets what. And I think that's a really tangible thing that the county has been able to kind of say, hey, this is what we did. We helped decide. But the county, and not to badmouth them or anything, but they've had their own struggles and issues over there. I think as a commission, we've been more strategic in terms of what are levers that the city can pull to increase the supply of affordable housing. And it's a much more difficult question. The equity questions are more difficult. So, you know, but that being said, I really appreciated the fact that we were able to be involved with the selection of which projects would receive home funds this last year. And so we went through, looked at 6 different projects, and we recommended them 5 of those receive awards. So I appreciated that, and it was something, a tangible accomplishment that the commission has. A couple other things, you know, in terms of recommendations that we've made to Mayor and Council, you know, it's kind of like the Titanic. You can't just turn. It takes a long time. You turn, and it takes a long time to steer the ship into a different direction. And so, you know, we talked about reinstating the Housing Trust Fund. As Ann just said, Mayor and Council is currently evaluating the 0.5% increase in sales tax, of which a portion would be allocated to affordable housing through the Housing Trust Fund. I think that's amazing. The zoning reforms that we talked about are currently being worked on by Development Services. They're trying to get something in place by the end of this year, as Corin just said. The fast track approval process is something that has been implemented and is being followed now on affordable housing projects in the city. You know, the bond initiative is something that is getting started, but we're talking to the county. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we do the affordable housing update. And then the last thing was the affordable housing, 15,000 units by 2030. I think it's a really big goal for the city. It's something that we talked about for 3 years to try to figure out how do you quantify how successful we are and how do we measure that. So I was excited about us being able to set that goal. So again, this is just me kind of doing a brain dump. So I didn't spend a ton of time on the presentation. I apologize. But so the other thing I think is we brought some new commissioners on the team who were experts in the field and bring a lot of expertise on affordable housing issues and equity issues. And so I do appreciate our new commission members. You know, throughout the 4 years, we've been a checkpoint for HCD on strategies, planning, and changes, which are being proposed to Mayor and Council. We've been a community champion to support the city's affordable housing initiatives. Example, you know, so we talked about, you know, when there's a public comment session, it's really, I think, good for commissioners to attend that. I was asked to attend a Mayor and Council meeting a month and a half ago, maybe, for converting a fire station over by Amphi High School to a homeless shelter. And so I got up and I spoke, and it was great because everybody who was there spoke in favor of it. I think everyone was anticipating a lot of resistance. And so in that case, you know, I'm not sure that we made the difference, but I think us being advocates for affordable housing, when there are public sessions and things like that, I think it's an important role that we play. This last time, as we just talked about, we're providing feedback to ADOH on changes to the QAP, which will hopefully make Tucson a more competitive place. And then, Jay said that he's in the process now of establishing regular communications with the city's equity department. I think is good. The other just kind of general thing that, just having communication with members of mayor and council, keeping affordable housing issues kind of on the forefront of their mind as they're thinking about policy decisions. I think, little things like that just do make a difference. And it's not always, having the big recommendation. It's just a sidebar conversation or things like that. And so, it's important, I think, as we move forward, to understand that the city is a big, complicated bureaucracy, right? And it's hard to make change, and we're pushing for change, and it's there. It just takes time and it's slow. And so I appreciate, I think the time that I've been the chair. I will tell you guys that you get out of this what you put in. So the more involvement we have, the better. So I'm getting sappy. I'm going to stop. Anyway, so
We just want to thank you.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so let's stop.
And I do want to specifically say that you made the new members feel very, speak for myself, but the openness and the level of discussion and the acceptance and all that we have to offer and share. For that, I thank you for that.
And I think your communication with the city and HCB has helped push things forward. And what you're doing with the zoning is absolutely amazing. So it may seem slow in the model, city, but you guys are speeding along here. So I think a lot of it has to do with you.
well, I will say for me, there's obviously been lessons learned as we've gone through this. There were things where I thought, well, this is a no-brainer. Everybody should just agree right away and then get something pushed through. And it took like 2 or 3 or 4 months sometimes to build consensus and to get everybody comfortable. And so that was something that I went through this, and so it takes time, and so it's important that we understand that kind of stuff forward.
Well, thank you for your service.
Yeah. So
You stay on the commission?
yeah, I'm staying on the commission. Much more.
Yeah.
In fact, now I can say what I really think.
He's the chair of affordable housing. He's staying in the chair.
I'll stay on the chair.
They put you into that.
We know
Okay.
where you live.
So we need to do nominations and vote for the new chair and for a vice chair. And so I'd like to, I guess, start with the chair. I'd like to nominate Jay Young, who's to be the chair going forward.
Second that.
Okay, is there any other nominations for the chair? Jay's been, he's been helping set agendas. We've been having a lot of meetings in the background. Anytime we have meetings with the mayor and council, we've had meetings with HCD separately. So I feel very confident that this is going to be a smooth transition. Obviously I'm here for you. Okay, so I guess we have to put this to vote, don't we?
Do you accept?
Does it matter?
Yes,
I do. Okay. Okay, so any other comments before we put this to vote? All right, Maggie Monteas.
I approve. I recommend.
Okay, I know Wendy had to step out. Mary Ann?
Yes.
Mindy?
Yes.
Vicky?
Yes.
Tisha,
Yes.
Ray,
Yeah.
Kenny, Jay.
Yes.
Yes, it happened.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Jay.
Jay, actually, you forgot that.
Sorry, Lori.
Yes.
She's all,
Maybe I'd let you sweat a little bit.
Yeah. All right, so is there nomination for the vice chair?
I'd like to nominate Tisha for vice chair.
Thinking the same thing.
Is there a second?
I second it.
Tisha, do you accept the
I'll
nomination? Accept the nomination. Okay, is there anybody else like to make a nomination for vice chair?
Interested in the vice chair?
Any comments or questions? Okay, so call it for question. Maggie,
Yes.
Mary Ann,
Yes.
Mindy,
Yes.
Vicky,
Yes.
Lori,
Yes.
Ray,
Yes.
Kenny, and Jay.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Oh, heaven. Can we get a recall vote? No.
All right, good. Well, thank you guys. I think we're in good hands, and like I said, you know, there's things I can do to help. Okay, with that,
One, I know it was on the agenda related to this. We do still have 2 vacant seats. We are planning on doing a public poll. What we've heard feedback on from mayor and council is wanting folks with kind of more lived experience. And so please encourage people to apply. I think that they are looking for residents who bring varied perspectives. So we will be doing another call soon.
Okay.
Is it still a youth position in that too? Or do you guys
It is,
open?
these are other open mayor and council positions. Serena is the youth.
Serena is the youth, yeah.
We have a youth?
We have a youth.
Yeah, no, Serena was at the last meeting. I think you missed the last meeting. But she works at PMM, Western Murrow McDonald. So it's nice because she brings a little bit of architecture background. So, yeah, I think she's gonna be good.
Native Tucson.
Yeah.
Yes, it's right here.
What's that?
What's Serena's last name?
Western, it's
Oh,
Huaraqui, Huaraqe. All right. Let's jump into subcommittee reports. First is affordable housing. I'll go ahead and report on that. So we talked a little bit about the, we follow up on the ADUH recommendations. Corin gave a presentation on the fast track program for affordable housing projects. And essentially what they're doing is they're guaranteeing a 15-day turnaround. Submittals made to development services for affordable housing. It's great. It makes a big difference.
Actually, Lauren also presented, it was Lauren Seamus, our partner, who's actually kind of managing that project. So one point person that's sort of the facilitator, expediter, if you will, for affordable housing projects.
And then Dre gave a very similar presentation to what she gave us today. And Marianne talked about a presentation that she had heard on the Arizona Research Center, State of Housing in Arizona. And we had some good information on that. The one action item that came out of the meeting is the Affordable Housing Subcommittee with approval from the overall commission. Would like to be on point for working with the county's Affordable Housing Commission on the bond initiative. I think it's going to be difficult to do that at the full commission level. I think we take that down to the subcommittee level. And what's wrong with that? So is there any issues or concerns with us doing that?
I'm wondering if meetings are happening, if you can like send that out, that people can make it, if we're not scheduling around everyone's schedules, but I'd love to attend if I were able.
Yep, no problem. We just have to make sure we don't make quorum. So as long as there's fewer than 7 people.
Thanks.
Any questions on affordable housing?
There was one other motion from, it was September, and is it the October meeting that, November meeting that Arch is going to do a presentation. We'd like them to do a presentation to the commission on the state of housing research that they did. And so they've agreed to that, and while we were up there, Kenny was part of that whole process, that whole research, so, but it's gonna be Lisa and, Allison and, on Andrea.
Okay, equitable housing strategies.
We've had an excellent meeting, last time we met. The main highlights are that, Martina Kale, who is a consultant working with, the city and the county, came and gave us a presentation about, her work on the analysis of impediments to fair housing choice, also known as the AI, which is part of the city and county consortium's consolidated plan. And the AI, I think, is really one of the kind of premier documents that the city and county use that really focuses on equity and housing equity in particular, looking at fair housing, housing segregation, access to opportunity. And the AI creates an action plan to improve fair housing, reduce segregation. And it's part of how I got my start in fair housing as well. I worked on a number of these analyses, and Martina does a great job. So she presented to us kind of where she is in her process and got feedback from us about the AI. So that was a great presentation, and hopefully she or someone from the city and or county can come back and present about the AI when it's completed, and probably as well as a consolidated plan. So that was great. Then we had Laura Sharp from the Office of Equity present about the work they've been doing, and that she's been spearheading, really mapping equity throughout the city, and really mapping areas of high and low opportunity, which is a lot of what I think we have been asking for in terms of like the need to measure equity, needing to have some sort of starting point where we can measure from year to year, is the city getting more equitable or not? So that was really good. And we had worked with her in the past, but kind of had lost touch a little bit. So they made a lot of progress. And what I'm excited about is that I think we're going to be able to help bridge the gap between what the Office of Equity is doing, and making sure that the commission as a whole knows what's going on, and that their equity work is really informing the work that we're doing. Because I think our struggle has been, equity is such a huge topic and it's such a heavy lift, and, the things that made housing inequitable, happened, a lot of it happened a long time ago and is still here today. And it's kind of hard to really zero in on what to address and what policies to bring forward. And I think having the Office of Equity be kind of leading that, or at least partnering with that, will be very helpful, so that we can kind of, as the commission as a whole has done, we can get behind things and support things, as opposed to, trying to come up with things on our own to bring forward, which has been challenging, obviously. So great presentation there. We had an HCD update. That really took up the vast majority of our time. So is there anything else, subcommittee members, that stuck out that I didn't cover? If not,
Not related to the subcommittee, want to make sure people are aware of the community conversation on racial discrimination in housing in Tucson. That's spearheaded by the library and YWCA and University of Arizona. The first one is Saturday morning at Valencia Library. The second one is Thursday, September 12th at Woods Memorial Library. We can certainly send a link.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah. We will send a link to everyone, but wanted to make sure you know that's happening.
I'll be
I
there.
didn't know. I'll be there too. Which one? Oh,
Saturday for
I'll
sure.
be there Saturday.
Great.
I'll
See you there.
Come join the party.
That's right.
Any other comments or questions for Jay or Equitable Housing Strategies? Okay, housing first.
Yes, so Mark, Mindy and myself met and we reviewed what we had been looking at by way of research and speakers, potentially making recommendations to the full commission that could potentially be made to council here. I think we came to the point where we provided the information through Netto. I think it's on the agenda items or their attachments on today's meeting. So feel free to look through those at your leisure and let us know whether or not you'd like to call any of those people. All we did was discuss them and thought whether or not there might be pieces that could potentially be considered. As if it's just the three of us, we felt ultimately that we might want to review the materials and determine whether or not you'd like more information. We also weren't sure whether or not Phoenix has had ongoing conversations here. Tucson, which, you know, we're certain that you're aware of their programs. I don't know that should be light, but if any of the commissioners wanted to see some additional. One thing that I know Mindy was did have interest in was learning that they have provided space for. Anyway, all the information is there for you. We had heard from Rachel Mill with We heard from Rachel Milne of Maricopa County. We also had Elizabeth DaCosta speak to us about H2O. Both of those both of the PowerPoints are there for you if you go to the link for the meeting today. And then we also were in the process of getting for our next agenda item an individual from Holistic Transformations that was recommended by Mindy. So we're in the process. We continue to look at other potential city across the country. We're not limiting ourselves on what might be some good programs within Housing First or some innovative things that have been done, inviting them to speak and then seeing if there's anything there potentially that the commission would be interested in receiving information on or potential recommendations. So that's kind of what we've been doing. We also had an HCD update. And that would be it.
I have a question. Is this, they leave during the day, come back at night, and they get a different tent, or do you know how this works?
Well, she touched on it as one of many strategies, but it is in a very contained area. People I believe have assigned tents, and then they have a number of resources available to them, showers, food, etc. I do believe she did say that they left during the day. I don't know, but if you'd like, you know, that's another thing. If you'd like to talk to any of the people that we heard from on a specific strategy, I'm sure they'd be more than happy to come back and address the full issue.
We also talked with Joe, who's with the Homing Project.
Yes, I'm sorry, Homing Project as well.
And they did extensive research through Oregon and California, pallet
micro homes. Pallet is a company that builds specifically for intentional tiny micro home villages where wraparound services are available.
And they are temporary structures. So we looked at various types of potential strategies, temporary, permanent, what sorts of resources were available. But it was all raised for just questions that we had, right? What is everybody else doing?
So just so I understand the ask, can you reiterate what's the ask from the commission? So
Take a look at the PowerPoints if you're interested in getting more information and or hearing from this potential speaker, we can call them back for the full commission.
I think if you're using that to make recommendations on policy changes in the city, it'd be good. I mean, if this is the core of it, it'd be good to hear it to the overall commission. So if you guys have formulated what you think are recommendations.
We were hesitant because there are three of us.
Okay.
And that's our quorum, right? There's four of us, but our quorum is three.
Yeah.
Is it recorded?
It is recorded.
I wonder
Great idea.
if we should
Review the videos.
review the videos and then do a follow just for the time of the speakers
Right.
to like come back with more clarity questions. I know it's a lot to ask people to watch.
Can you send the, kind of
Or
the
each
section
one
that
of
we're
the
talking about from that reporting, that link out to everybody?
Regarding the Phoenix presentation?
The Office of Homeless Solutions.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Thank you.
That was on July 30th.
And then Joe with the homing project.
I believe it's June. And then June 25th.
So you've got the, what you've included in here is the court. The community court, is that different than the homeless court we have here?
Talked to so many people. I would really refer you to the video.
Okay, I'm just wondering, like, they brought this into the presentation versus you guys?
Yes. Yes.
All right. You're familiar with the homeless court, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yes. I heard on the American Bar Association.
I'm just wondering if there's something that they're doing in Phoenix that can enhance what we're doing here in Tucson.
Well, and that's the question, but none of us have that expertise to know what conversations have been had with HCD or the city of Tucson on those types of strategies. So we were just exploring strategies and thought if there was something in there that looked innovative that we don't know whether it's been considered.
Good.
We are in process of hiring for the continuum of care manager, the one that was the liaison, and so hopefully which takes longer than we think it will. Hopefully soon, we will have that position, that person hired.
Great. That's all.
Okay, any questions on Housing First? Okay, our next commission meeting is October 3rd. It's going to be online. Equitable Housing Strategies meeting is September 17th. Affordable Housing is September 18th and Housing First September 24th. Looks like we do have a conflict. Our November 7th meeting, there's a mayor and council meeting that day. So we're going to have to move that. Let me just push it 1 week. So to November 14th.
Which meeting was that?
The November commission meeting.
Mm.
There's a mayor and council meeting that day. Is everybody good pushing it back 1 week to the 14th?
And we have a Tucson House
I
update.
feel like we can divide and conquer.
Yeah.
We are doing regular meetings with Tucson House, but
Okay. Let's move the meeting from the 7th to the 14th. Okay, so any agenda items, commissioners would like to get on our October meeting? And if you could remind us at the next meeting for the November. For your agenda item?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. It is 5:58. We are adjourned 2 minutes early. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for facilitating your last meeting.
Yep,
4 years.
I know.
That's a lot of emails.
Love talking to you.
Thanks for you sharing those.
Yeah.